Hey guys, welcome to another class review video, back to back. Hope you guys are looking forward to it. Votes came in and we're doing the mages next, which there are just as many mages as there are warriors. Rest in peace archers, though I can't really blame Nexon. There aren't too many ways you can make different archer classes, especially since gun wielding classes are pirates, but we're not talking about archers, we're talking about mages. Okay, so same format as the last one, and since there are still a crap ton of mages, I'm gonna keep it kind of short. The poll is still up, by the way, so if you guys want to compete between archer and pirate, you're welcome to do that. Mages have always been a balance problem greater than the likes of thieves and warriors. I think it's mostly because of their long history of being quote-unquote perma top-tier classes. They were among the best classes when the damage cap was 100k, then 200k, then 1 million, then 50 million, and it wasn't until after the damage cap shot up to 10 billion and with Fit Job coming out that I think mages really took a hit. A lot of them received nerfs after nerfs, and as of right now, a good number of them have either been relegated to around mid-tier classes or have just become full-on support, barring one mage, which I'll talk about later. Despite being the most easy on the imagination class type, mages I think right now are the least popular class in Maple, not even factoring their lackluster performance as of late. I see very few Evans, Kinesises, Battle Mages, Blaze Wizards, Iliums, etc. to the point where I know like only one or two of each compared to the 60 billion Night Lords and Dark Knights in the world. Probably because they don't have a flash jump, and a lot of people really like that. They're really used to having a flash jump. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Let's get into the video. Ice Lightning Mages, let's start off with those. A sharp contrast to their sister class Fire Poison, in which they focus more on speed than power, at least back in the day. Of the three Explorer Mages, I preferred Ice Lightning Mage the most, and I played all three at one point. Almost everyone knows Ice Lightning Mage to be the mobbing king of the three Explorer classes. They have some of the best wave clear in the game, one of the best binds for bosses, high critical damage scaling, and just about every other general magician attribute you can think of. In fact, in my warrior video, remember how I talked about Dark Knights being a very middle ground warrior? IL mages are basically the mage version of Dark Knights. A very serviceable, very well balanced class. They got a good mix of damage, decently fun to play, doesn't excel in particularly anything but doesn't suck at anything either. Their strengths are defined and weaknesses too, plus they have a nice intermediate learning curve. I will say though, that all three Explorer Mages are relatively underwhelming performance-wise until 5th job, so they take some time to get going, but just a well-rounded class to start out with. Now, while Ice Lightning Mages are a very consistent and jack-of-all-trades type mage, Fire Poisons really favor extremes. At one point they were the strongest class in the game for like a few months because of their busted Misdirruption spam ability, so strong that at one point they could hit over 100 times their damage range back when that was like unheard of. Even heroes couldn't hit that hard. Fire Poison Mages nowadays though are a bit more toned down, top-notch boss killers like they've always been, and strong mobbing to boot. While Ice Lightning Mages prefer death by 1,000 cuts, Fire Poison Mages they tend to focus more on putting all of their force into a single attack to do massive damage. In other words, it's a matter of preference which one you want to take, since their overall playstyle is relatively the same, their kit is relatively the same in terms of like stats and whatnot. Ice Lightning Mage is a more general, all-purpose Explorer Mage, while Fire Poison is a very offense-heavy mage and has little to say about utility. As of right now in GMS, if we're talking about sheer force, Fire Poison Mages are the best mage in the game, and have been for a while by nature of their class since damage over time has almost 100% uptime. I did hear that they're about to receive some big nerfs in the upcoming few months when Nexon does their next job rebalancing, but overall, still a really powerful class with nearly immaculate damage scaling. Bishops, top tier utility class, they'll forever be in like the 5 weakest classes damage-wise, but that's not their job. Their job is to make your party members strong, not themselves. Holy Symbol got nerfed so hard into the ground that you basically have to be right next to the caster to receive the buff, but that doesn't make the bishop any weaker when it comes to utility. Increased weapon attack, magic attack, HP, MP, boss damage, total damage, defense, resurrection, party healing, one-hit KO protection, dispelling, death immunity, abnormal status resist, and they're all powerful benediction skill, which can literally triple your damage output if the bishop is really strong. Do I have to say anything more? They have never been known for their damage and they never will, always being top dogs when it came to utility and unparalleled in usefulness. You can't really compare Bishop to its sister Explorers because they're in a totally different niche. I mean, their damage is not like terrible, it's not what their job is. Their damage comes from amplifying party members' damage, so in that regard, if you take the bonus damage your party members are doing because of you and you add that up and put it to yourself, you'd probably be doing the most damage in your party just by proxy. Valuable class, but not as a solo one. Blaze Wizard, yet another class that fell from grace, being one of the best bosses and mobbers in all of MapleStory when they got reworked back in 2014, and now they've just completely become a meme as the botting class, at least from like 2014 to 2017. You guys remember that? Anyway, I'm not gonna hate on them in that regard because Blaze Wizards honestly are a pretty solid mage class, being one of the only two that have a flash jump instead of a teleport. I like to look at Blaze Wizards as a Fire Poison Mage with an Ice Lightning Mage playstyle, fast attack Fire Mage essentially. They're a great self-sustaining class with a lot of useful tools in their kit, and they did get favored quite a bit from FitJob. A good mix of bossing and mobbing and a great amount of attacking skills, things like flame areas to increase your damage coverage, a rewarp, instant mana replenishment, a passive revive, and a ton of passive stat bonuses in crit rate, crit damage, magic attack, final damage, ignore defense, and even a party-wide damage and attack speed buff. The problem with Blaze Wizards, it mostly stems from their reliance on good ping since their main attack Orbital Flame is a server-side skill. Though I do think their damage is very respectable, not taking gold medals anytime soon, but you'd be remiss to sleep on them, trust me. Coming after Blaze Wizard is Evan, another very well-respected, above-average mage. They used to be one of the best in the game when they got reworked alongside Aaron. It seems like every mage at one point has been the best at a certain point in time. But like all mages, the future hasn't been very kind to them. Still though, I voiced my praises about Evan before, I'll voice them again. A really fun mage with an interesting dynamic around chaining your own abilities with your Dragon Mirror to maximize damage. Strong single target damage and awesome wave clear. By this point in the video, you've probably noticed that mages as a class type are just really powerful mobbers, and Evan is no exception. But unlike most of the other mages, Evan is one of the better bosses in the game due to their higher attack speed and fusion skill mechanic. Stats wise, traditional mage, high crit rate, crit damage, magic attack, ignore defense, final damage, damage amplification, you've heard this before. I think Evan is a really fun class to play based on what I've heard from people who main it, and while I myself don't, I've had a pretty fun time playing 1 to 4 job. Hyper skills and FitJob are also amazing. Summoning huge dragons and giant satellites in the air to cast Armageddon on the world, which I honestly have no idea how that relates to a dragon tamer, but you know what, it works. A great class, very strong for unfunded players. Once you get the hang of their fusion skill mechanics, you can have a very powerful mage on your hands. Next is Battle Mage, yet another underplayed class, which I guess is kind of fitting. I mean, it sucks, but they're very interesting. A unique take from your traditional mage being very squishy and a mid to long distance fighter, Battle Mages are the only melee range in the game with like tanky playstyle. They're kind of like a warrior or pirate than your normal mage. All things considered though, Battle Mages, they suffer from rather outdated kit. They used to be a really solid class back in 2012 to like 2016, but when FitJob came out and other classes got more explosive and just Super Saiyan like, Battle Mages were sort of left in the dust. Their utility is cool though, despite their class name, since they have the unique battle aura effects that can also apply to your party, but they just haven't gotten much else from Maple, especially with some rather underwhelming FitJob skills compared to other mages who got amazing ones. Just a strange playstyle. It's cool playstyle, but not really becoming of them in this game. Overall, a class that might need a bit of a modern tune-up. They've almost always been really weak in the damage charts, and they have little else to make up for it. Lower damage than other mages due to lack of damage amplification, final damage, or boss damage in their kit. They just really need, like, big buffs or something. When Luminous first came out, a lot of players assumed they would just be infinitely superior versions of Ice Lightning Mages due to having a similar attack mechanic, but no. Luminous has had a very emotional roller coaster life, coming out as one of the best mobbers in the game, to then being the best bosser in the game, to then getting a ton of nerfs, to becoming the worst mage in the game, and then after that they became the best once again, and now they're roughly in the above average zone. Apart from their laughable teleport range and their weird mechanic of switching from light to dark mode, which really does hamper their DPS, Luminous is and always has been a terrific class and a big favorite among the mage community. Being a very flashy class with an interesting light and dark gimmick, they were always great when it came to mobbing, but somewhat struggled with bossing due to their pattern of having to switch into equilibrium to optimize their damage, but when FitJob came out, they got some much needed benefit to their lackluster uptime, receiving buffs to their already great mobbing and helping out their bossing a bit. More than any other mage, Lumi is a very self-sustaining class, well-rounded early, mid, and late game. So, if you can overlook the fact that they have the worst mobility of all the mages and are one of the more selfish mage classes with very low practical party utility, Luminous, there you go. And now, we have the two Mimi classes. Kana first. We already know about Kana and how they've gotten the title of the most worthless class in the game because, quite frankly speaking, they're literally only used for botting, meso farming in Reboot, or just a Kishin Mule. That's just about it. However, after their rework, they've risen to like top tier in the damage charts in JMS, but in GMS, they ninja nerfed Kana and, you know, about average, give or take. But anyway, Kana's rework has done many good things for them, giving them a more offensive focus to where they actually deal serious damage, attack much more quickly, and have bigger benefits to their already great mobbing capabilities. Equal parts support and DPS, Kanas have made a good name for themselves now even after the nerfs. I haven't tried new Kana at all, so I can't really say too much about them, but from talking with other people who have tried the new Kana, and they say it's definitely a step in the right direction. Now they're more than just a Kishin Mule, they have their own identity. I should get around to trying their rework sometime here and there. I don't know, we'll figure it out as we go along. Okay, so second meme class, Beast Tamer, trash, next. Fine, I'll talk about them. But in all seriousness, Beast Tamer as a class, even after their quote-unquote rework they got about a month or so, has done very little to make them any less of a joke than they already are. Like all mages, they have respectable mobbing, I guess, but for all intents and purposes, they're not a class to take seriously. In fact, I know of only one person who has an actual funded Beast Tamer, and I think the only reason they do is because they genuinely love the class's theme, which I respect, I guess, but literally any other mage does what Beast Tamer does, just better. Kinesis comes next, second to last mage class, and they're also a very underappreciated class, one that can become incredibly powerful in the right hands, and as of right now, I think they're the best mage in the game. Fire Poison Mage in GMS's current patch secures the #1 position as the strongest mage in the game damage-wise, but Kinesis has a better overall kit with the best mobbing out of all mages I think, and great damage. A strong but selfish mage class, and next to Blaze Wizard, the only one with flash jump instead of a teleport. They've got a really interesting gimmick of using telekinesis to pick stuff up and literally throw them at things. Very strong burst frames and excel at debuffing enemies rather than buffing allies. Due to being a newer class, their kit is very combo-centric, and almost all of their abilities you'll be using in combat, which makes for a very fun playstyle since you don't have as many dead skills and aren't just spamming one single attack over and over again. Kinesis does suffer from a small problem of being a class reliant on circumstance. Their biggest weakness lies in most of their attacking skills, counting on the target standing perfectly still or not moving at all. So against very mobile bosses like Damon and Lucid, it can get tiresome for Kinesis to have to keep repositioning their attacks since they're not the most fluid class in the game. I talked about Kinesis a lot more in my best class of each type video, so if you want a more detailed review on that class, you should go check it out. And then lastly, Ilium. As TLDR as I can get, Ilium is an Evan but replaced the dragon with Oriana's ball from League of Legends. There we go. In all seriousness, Iliums are heavily slept on. They're right next to Kinesis as being an incredibly insane mobber with awesome burst frame windows and the only mage with the ability to fly for short periods of time. Well, Kinesis, I mean, they have a flying ability. I wouldn't really call it flying, I would just call it like gravitational levitation, but whatever, we're just getting semantical here. When looking at Ilium, people thought they were a complete joke at the very beginning, with really weak bossing, strong mobbing, but just terrible lines and terrible bossing. Not true, Iliums are very strong and a top tier mage just with a strange playstyle that not many people are too used to since their attacks are centered not around the character themselves, but their little floating spheres. Very flashy class, to some it's fun, to others it can be boring. Not really my cup of tea, but I know an Ilium friend who's very passionate about the class. However, while their strengths are well defined, so are their weaknesses. Some of them similar to Kinesis, such as the need for setup. Iliums as a whole are better against immobile targets or those that don't move around too much because of their need to set up their skills in the right circumstance for highest uptime. That and they're probably the squishiest mage in the game if not for their invincibility frames. Otherwise, solid class all around though and heavily underrated. And that wraps up for the mages. While the warrior class type consists of a ton of amazing boss killers, mages are mostly amazing mobbers with explosive wave clear and high training speeds, decent DPM but not like warriors. They're far from where they used to be though, and I'm not sure if Nexon will ever bring them back up to the top tier since at one point it was so ridiculous. Like of the top 10 classes one time, mages took 6 of them. They were even more broken than warriors used to be at one point. But I guess now Nexon wants thieves, archers, and pirates to take the lead for a bit. Good for us. Thanks so much for watching guys, and once again a big shout out to my patrons for supporting my channel. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, a rating would be much appreciated. Archer and Pirates will be coming later this week. I intend to get all 4 of these class reviews out this week. I just hope it doesn't burn out too quickly on me. I'll see you guys again soon in the next video. Take care.